What about medical equality? Thank God, people are going to be able to have health insurance. But there's medical equality on prescriptions costs. If you have cancer, it could ruin your life. What about medical equality? What about educational equality? We get this thing when somebody can't read as brilliantly as other people. We put up barriers. What about racial equality? We're still unequal, friends. We're still unequal. What about ethnic equality? What about social equality? If you don't look this way, if you don't stand this way, act this way, are we welcoming? I have to say this church does a better job than most, but there's still places where we're unequal. What about financial equality? And what do I do about it? We who have privilege, we who have status, we who have resources, we're to work for those who don't. And so what do I do about this? What do I do about it in my home? How does simple things like how I use water impact the world? On average, when we are just at home, we use 70 gallons of water a day. I hope I don't gross you out on this one, but when we flush the toilet, we use 3 gallons of water. Now put that up against a young girl in a developing country that the first thing, or one of the first things she does in the morning is pick up an empty 5-gallon bucket and puts it on her head and walks a mile to 3 miles to bring back semi-clean water for her family to subsist on a daily basis. 5 gallons for the whole family per trip versus a 3-gallon flush. Now, I'm not telling you don't flush your toilets. I'm telling you, how do we deal with water in our home? And we know the impact of water because we're hearing it on the news in California with the droughts and the impact to the farmers. How do we live with water in our world? What about food management? I confess that if I cleaned out my refrigerator, there are things I need to get rid of. Things that I thought we were going to eat, but we're not. About 1 in 9 people, or 805 million people, live in our world with not enough food to sustain a healthy life. And we waste 1.3 billion pounds of food a year. If we just stopped wasting food by half, we'd have enough food available so that everyone could live comfortably. And what about our stuff? I noticed that I have a closet, and in the center of the closet are all my favorite clothes that I wear all the time. And you think, poor Kathleen, she only has 3 dresses. But they're my favorites, and as long as I remember which one I wore on Sunday last week, you won't know. But I have other clothes in my closet. Clothes that I never use, clothes that I never wear, and they're helping no one. And there's people who needs clothes. And if we're going to talk about confessions, what do our basements look like? You know, are they open and spacious? Or are they filled with boxes of stuff we think we need, but we haven't opened it in 2, 4, 6 or more years? We don't even know what's in that box, but it's important to us. Do we have pathways in our basements or our garage because we have stuff? And is it stuff that other people need? Could it mean that if we just free ourselves up from the stuff, we're bringing equality to people who don't have the stuff that we have that we don't even use? And what about bringing equality to my community? When I'm out socially, Do I have a voice? Oh, good. When I'm out socially, am I looking for my friends when we're out in a group? People I'm comfortable with? People that I know? Or am I looking for that person who's kind of an outsider, who looks a little different than us, who speaks a little different or acts a little different? Am I making the excess equal in the community? Am I advocating for people who the rest of the world sees as invisible? When I see an injustice happening in our group, do I stop it and say, wait a minute, no. How are we supposed to be bringing equality in the community and in our world? I've been arguing with God for about 24 hours because this is where I'm supposed to be telling you this really powerful, moving story about equality. And I don't have one. And I'm like, God, how can I do a sermon without a powerful, moving story about equality to end the sermon? And finally, I believe God. I am trainable. I'm just passionate today. I'm sorry. I believe God said it's not supposed to end. The sermon is not supposed to end. Because if I tell you this powerful, moving story about equality, you're going to go, oh, the sermon's over, okay, I can go back to life. The sermon's not supposed to end. We're supposed to go from here, and we're supposed to be awake and wise and aware of equality issues, places that we have privilege, that we can make a difference. And that's what I got this week. Our call is to bring equality to the world. If we don't see our privilege, we won't see those who don't have that privilege. So we have to become aware of the blessings that we have that we don't even think about. And then we need to hold ourselves in discipline as to how we use the resources we have, that we can bring life and wholeness to the world around us, just as Christ brought life and wholeness to those two women. Let us pray. Most gracious and loving God, thank you for all the blessings that we have in our lives, the things that we don't even realize we have. Thank you. And forgive us for taking those things like status and access for granted. Help us, God, to have open eyes. Eyes that see who we are and what we've been blessed with, and eyes that we see those who need to share in those blessings with us. Knowing that as we share, we are doubly blessed to connect with our brother and our sister. Help us be your people of equality in this world. We pause now before you and we lift up our thanksgiving, our joys, and our prayer concerns.